Matthew, hi.
Hi.
How are we doing?
We're great.
Well, you just told me before the video. It's first time in Rotterdam. How can you explain to people? How are you experiencing?
So this is my first time in Rotterdam. It's my first time showing with the film festival, and I am one of the profiled filmmakers in the Focus program. I am showing 6 films here, 2 premieres, and I also have an installation up at the Dolan.
Yeah. And so that's a lot. A lot of people have like one film here. You have you're like 6. Yes.
They were interested.
Yeah. Cool. And then you submitted more films you selected. So
it's a profile on basically 9 years of work. And it's a program that was kind of curated by the programmer Christina Kolasvari Kiss, with a little bit of input on my part that really spans 9 years of my practice. So it's work starting in 2016 all the way up to 2025.
Yeah. And then you focus a lot on like group dynamics. That's kind of the thing you're interested in.
Yeah. So a lot of my recent work the films are made in a pseudo collaborative way where, of course, like I am sort of like propelling the narrative or controlling the situation, but I invite people to participate and they sort of undo that process and their relationship with me and their relationship with each other as non-actors participating in a film affects the film in a very like tangible and sort of reflexive way.
Yeah, because you said you work with non-actors and they're already like an existent group, kind of like?
Sometimes, yes. I mean, one of the films I'm premiering, it's called Gay Men's Book Club, and I bring together, there are 7 of us. I often appear in the films too. And, they are all strangers to one another. So that's an instance where we didn't all know each other and we sort of see what unfolds over the course of this conversation between these strangers. In another body of work that I'm showing here, I work with the puppy play community. And oftentimes, you kind of see how I begin that process. And in the beginning, I'm working sort of more one-on-one. And as I meet more pups and I gain the trust of that community, I am allowed to film with a group of pups. And so the film becomes, that film, part 2, becomes much more about those pre-existing dynamics. Yeah.
Where does that interest for you come from?
Dogs or...
Well, just the group.
Yeah. I'm a quadruplet. There's 4 of me.
As said, and almost every bio I found of you online, it says Matthew Lax as part of a quadruplet, which is funny to me.
Yeah. So I've always been kind of interested in this idea that like, we're doing this thing right now, but we're both having like simultaneously different experiences of that. Being quadruplet, it's like that, but also like we share a same sort of like foundation. So I'm interested in that kind of like difference between memory and experience, and film as a recorded kind of exterior view of that. Yeah.
And then you already mentioned it as well, the puppy play, but there's also an installation where you, with text and other audio, you use like Lassie to talk about like the freedom that dogs have or may not have. Where do dogs enter this storyline?
Yeah, so I've been working on these dog films for the past 4 years. I come from a dog breeding family. My parents breed collies. I had a dog for a long time. I love dogs. And I'm interested, going back to that group thing, like I'm interested in this idea of pack behavior, which is not something that is intrinsic to the domestic dog. It's something that's been sort of like taken out of them as they have become part of society. And in the piece, you're talking about an animated dog reads John Berger, HARAWAY, and KAFKA. It is a motion capture performance of me reading a sort of monologue of these different authors, but the face of the dog is mine. So it's sort of like a funny, it's like a lip sync almost. It's like animal drag.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is like not furries, but like generated.
Yeah.
But then it's in a the screen is in a cage, which again,
Yeah. So, I work between sort of like theatrical cinema, films, and then also in installation. So in this particular case, you really have to negotiate it like it's a real dog, or at least like, it alludes to a real dog. Yeah.
You couldn't put a real dog in a cage for like the whole festival.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't, but I do love when like a random dog comes and interacts with that piece.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm assuming the dog doesn't can't recognize the screen, but I think the dog senses the familiarity of the cage structure.
Oh yeah, that he recognized like this is. But the funny thing is, because sometimes you see this, like there's a lot of TikToks about the dog sitting like on a couch, and there are people are like watching a movie. A lot of times it's like The Lion King. Yeah, they respond to it like it's happening, which is
true. Yeah.
So I think
so. Maybe they're having this bonding moment. Yeah.
If it's like. I mean, it's kind of real. I mean, you made it.
And it's on the floor. It like there's a position of it really like accentuates that. Yeah.
What kind of talks did you have with people already here? Because we already had a showing. Like, what kind of conversation does your movies start?
Yeah. So I've done 3 screenings at this point. There's another one in a little bit. And I think it's people are just sort of fascinated by the breadth of work. It's unusual that like I can provide such context, but also, it's, with book club, it's like, it's like how did this group come into being, like, and also like the sort of urgency of the conversation on a variety of social issues. And then with the dog work, it's, a lot of people are not familiar with puppy play, but if you are a queer person and if you are familiar with puppy play, like it's a sort of broader conversation about, that.
Yeah. For me, it's always when I go to clubs and people are there like in their puppy outfits. For me, it's kind of a fun thing, but I never know. I'm kind of like, to me, it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do or not do. Yeah, so for me, it's kind of like, do your thing. I'm very I'm happy to get along, but I'm like, okay, what am I doing? It's kind of funny. And as you said also about the book club, because I saw it was 7 people, right? And you brought together and it's people from all different backgrounds, people ages. I think it's so important that we acknowledge that there's more, that we should get together more like this, even if it's like a book club, film club, with different people, because we're so in our own bubbles, and especially with people of our own age. There's a lot of ageism in the queer realm that I'm seeing. Was this like an active choice to bring this together?
Yeah, so it was always intentional from the beginning to have it be intergenerational. That piece, the club itself, is sort of co-facilitated by myself and Dr. Dawn Kilhefner, who is a queer elder, community organizer, and actually the founder of the Radical Fairies. And we sort of developed a kind of loose structure for the book club. Definitely like in conversation, collaborating for like 3-4 months before we actually shot the film. And, that was like a conscious decision, just because you're right. Like that is sort of like lacking. Like we have this historical, disparity from the AIDS crisis, where we don't actually, a lot, like in our generation anyway, we didn't actually have queer elders, many queer elders or queer examples growing up, and eventually we will be someone's queer elders. But like that, it's that kind of, because oftentimes if your community is found in the nightclub, let's say, you're not going to necessarily see people from, older generations, and so providing a context where these real conversations can happen and like have a productive dialogue was just really, really important.
Yeah. Did something, I mean, I still have to see it, but did something come out that you were like, okay, we need to spread this message, or something that you've learned?
It's funny. I actually participated in a book club comprised of gay men, like right after COVID. And I was just fascinated by, what happens. Sure, like there are people from all walks of life, all ages, all races, whatever. But I was fascinated by the fact that we shared this one thing. And as I said earlier, it's like we share this one thing, but we're having vastly different experiences, in this case, of a book. And we learn together and through one another. Yeah.
So just talking about stuff. That's kind of always the thing. Just talk about stuff. That helps, because always, especially now, also with the internet, everybody's like, we're seeing something, now we're like shouting online instead of just having a conversation.
Yeah. No, it's important to like not like it's not an echo chamber. And it's not. I say in the beginning, like I try to like set these parameters in all of my work. When I work with people, I try to set these parameters where, it's a safe space. It's about consent, and we're gonna do something together and see how it unfolds. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having a conversation with me. I'll see you in the next viewing. And
thank you so much.
Thank you.